This is the Ben Mulroney Show, and thank you so much for joining us. We are at the middle of the week. This is our midweek political panel. This week in politics, we're joined by Regan Watts. We are joined by, oh my gosh, where's mine? And we're joined by Andy Gibbons. I apologize. I lost my I lost my place in my script. Guys, it's that time of the week where I ask you to take control of this conversation for the political play of the week.
This is the political play of the week.
Regan, you're first.
Ben, it's always my favorite time of the week. My political play of the week, I actually have a couple. First is I want to start because I'm feeling a little off today. I got a bit of a fever, and that's because I've got Blue Jays fever.
Oh God!
And my first political play of the week actually goes to Edward Rogers, Roger Ray, Ross Atkins, and Mark Shapiro, and everybody involved with the Toronto Blue Jays. You know, that Mr. Rogers in particular, but also Mr. Shapiro and Mr. Atkins, they took a beating in the public from idiots like Cathal Kelly about his handling of the Toronto Blue Jays. And the Jays are in the World Series and have been competitive in the Major League Baseball playoffs pretty well for the last 10 years under Mr. Rogers' stewardship. And I think he deserves a lot of credit for just keeping his mouth shut and running a great team. He spent a lot of his own money on improving facilities for the Jays in Dunedin and in Toronto. And they deserve enormous credit. And I think that we should have an open line, Mike, where Mr. Rogers comes on this show and people call in to apologize for being so stupid about him. My actual political play of the week, there's two others that I want to raise. One is the new Prime Minister of Japan, is a woman whose name I cannot pronounce. Her first act as Prime Minister was to create a new ministry of mass deportations. I think there is a global movement around migration where people the general public are very concerned about what is happening with immigration, and to address that very early on in her administration was quite I thought interesting. And the other political play of the week, and that's a good one. The other political play of the week that I have is Mr. Poilievre, who seems to keep stepping in doggy doo-doo every time he does an interview on a podcast. He says something stupid, as he did last week, talking about the RCMP being a political organization. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but I can't think of anything more stupid than that.
Well, we are going to talk about that next. I will say one thing, because I agree with everything you said about the Rogers family, everything you said about the Blue Jays. But when I heard the story, and today we had an interview with this young man who caught the Mariners' home run and did what everybody would do in that situation and threw it back on the field to show his support for his team. And he was promptly and summarily kicked out of the Rogers Center. That is a rule that needs to change. But that's the exception that proves the rule. And it's a lame rule for an awesome team. And that I'll leave it there. Andy, your turn.
It's Melanie Jolie for me. There's been a couple of bad news stories. One we discussed last week, which was the Stellantis moving to Illinois. Then there was an issue with the Ingersoll plant this week. And, I'm not criticizing her personally, but it's beyond underwhelming. I think she performed really poorly. Her response to the incident, Ben, was to say that she had commissioned a response group, quote unquote. And I just think if you're the average Canadian or you work in these factories, you would assume that the Minister of Industry is the response group, that they are on top of every single industrial measure that's happening. It's literally your 24/7 job. I'm not saying she's not on top of it, but I thought her response to say, we're going to have a response group was really underwhelming.
Yeah.
And she's clearly struggling a bit under her new prime minister. And let's hope she all finds her feet. But I thought that was a bit of a misstep.
Well, we're going to be keeping an eye on those committee meetings as they try to get access to those Stellantis contracts. I think what is written in them is going, because I believe one of two things happened. Either Stellantis broke the word and the spirit of the contract, in which case there is financial redress to seek, or they did everything that was in the contract, in which case it was a terribly written contract. In either case, neither side acquits himself well. Speaking of not acquitting themselves well, we're going to go back to what you just talked about, Regan, Pierre Poilievre, saying that in the wake of the investigation that was an investigation of Justin Trudeau on the SNC-Lavalin file, that he believed that the RCMP was the political arm of the Liberal Party or of the government of Canada, making all sorts of accusations that, look, whether you agree with them or not, I got bigger fish to fry today. There's a lot more on my. There's the here and now. There is crisis after crisis that is intersecting and messing with Canadians on a daily basis. I really don't want to go back and litigate the past, Regan.
So I agree with that, and I thought that Paul Wells, who is an eminent Canadian writer and political observer, had a wonderful column out last night about this. Look, Mr. Poilievre is in a political pickle right now. He's fighting for his leadership with the leadership review underway, but I don't think that's why he made these comments. Mr. Poilievre, these are his views, and people's views are allowed to evolve. And look, I have been a supporter of his and campaigned for him and wanted him to win the general election. But his comments show, and I think crystallize for many Canadians, and I think this is going to be a much bigger issue than I believe he initially thought this was going to be in his team. And this really crystallizes the decision that will be in front of Canadians in the next election among the considerations. And that is around tenor and tone. And in the last election, Prime Minister Carney came in and campaigned as the guy who can fix the country and deal with a crisis. And that was very much on brand for him. And compared to Mr. Carney, Mr. Poilievre didn't look quite as good as he did when running against Mr. Trudeau. Ben, it was your father who used to say, don't compare me to the Almighty, compare me to my opponent.
Yeah.
And compared to his opponent, Mr. Carney appears, sounds, looks, feels like a prime minister with the right temperament and tone. And these types of comments do nothing to add to or to address the concerns that many people have about whether Mr. Poilievre is the right person to lead the country. The attack ad is coming. You better believe the Liberals are going to clip that and run that back during the campaign and compare him to President Trump, because it's a Trumpian thing to say. And there's many things that President Trump does that I also support. Doesn't mean I love everything he does.
Yeah.
But I do know that Canadians don't respond well to the look, feel, sound, and tone of President Trump. And Mr. Poilievre, once again, has found a way to make him look and sound like himself, a version of Trump. And I don't think that's going to be additive for his leadership.
And Andy, in the same week where Pierre Poilievre attacked the RCMP, our prime minister committed to hiring 1,000 new RCMP members. The law and order was the exclusive domain of the Conservatives for a very long time, and now that you could make an argument that they're going to fight for those votes, and do what they need to do to be seen as serious on that file.
Yeah, same goes for national defense. I mean, I'm with Regan. I think this is a really bad moment for Pierre. I think it really triggered a lot of feelings in people. I don't think it's just the CBC and Liberals who are making hay of it. There's something about it. Lisa rates it well, Ben, I thought, which was it's time to move on.
Yeah.
And if
but the time to move on was a long time ago from this. I thought this was way in the past. For it to come back up, I was really shocked.
Bobby Ewing is not in the shower. These things happened.
Yeah.
Justin Trudeau is not prime minister anymore. It just reaffirms every negative sentiment people have about him and his instincts. So it's a tough one for him. I think this has legs, and I think, man, it's not good. It's not good.
Yeah, and
now we'll say one other thing.
Yeah,
the RCMP did press charges on the Mike Duffy scandal. I'm not saying there's nothing to some criticizing some of the charges laid historically, but it's time to move on from that era.
Yeah,
Canadians have, and he's got to as well.
And that's it. I mean, you can hear what he said and agree with every point, every sentiment if you want. But the time to say that is not now. The time to say that is we're facing another budget, or we're finally getting a budget, rather, as we are staring down Donald Trump. The time today is to be the guy presenting alternatives to solutions that are being proffered by the government. And anything short of that is time not well spent. And it's distraction, exactly. And on that point, I will say it's always time well spent with the two of you. Thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your week.
You too.
We'll see you soon. Go Blue Jays, go. Thanks so much for watching the show. Now, if you enjoyed what you saw, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode of The Ben Mulroney Show.